Welcome into a Hump Day edition of Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Today on the show, some realistic expectations about Cordarrelle Patterson's carries, opening up more cap space, And Dansby will be the true test. We'll talk about all of that next. Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked On Sports Atlanta.
This is Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome into this Wednesday edition of Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Head to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta in the search browser. When you get to our page, hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment there as well. Free and available to download on all of your favorite podcast platforms, which includes Spotify, Odyssey. Download us for free today. Leave us a 5-star review. Forget, we are now on Amazon Fire and Roku. Unfortunately, I have no idea what that means, but we are on Amazon Fire and Roku now. Check us out there. And, of course, follow me on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. So Cordarrelle Patterson on Sunday obviously had the monster game, 22 carries, over 100 yards, averaged 5.5 yards per attempt in the game. The thing that I want to focus on, though, is the 22 carries for Patterson. So the 22 carries obviously represented a career high for Patterson. He'd only hit 16 carries in a game twice in his career. And when you look at the 22 carries, that's only the 11th time in his career that he's had double-digit carries in a game. Now, 22 carries would put him on a pace of 374 carries for the season. Now, we know that Arthur Smith wants to run the football, power running game, and Patterson is his lead back. But let's be honest. Let's face it. He ain't running it 374 times, or there will be just bone dust left of Cordarrelle Patterson, right? Now, just to give you some perspective, since the year 2000, these are the times when a 31-year-old, which is how old Patterson is, Patterson just turned 31 years old in March. These are the times since the year 2000 that any running back in the NFL has run it even 300 times at the age of 31. 2004, Curtis Martin ran it 371 times. 2009, Thomas Jones ran it 331 times. And Tiki Barber in 2006 ran it 327 times. That's the only 3 times since the year 2000 that a 31-year-old or older running back has run it for 300 times. So what is a realistic expectation? Because it ain't going to be 374. It ain't even going to be 300. And this is why we talked about Tyler Algier has got to get in there. With all due respect to Damian Williams, who's always beat up and broken down, I can't afford to have him be my only real sole other running back. Forget Avery Williams. Avery Williams is your return guy, okay? If they could move him to a different position tomorrow if need be. But you better have Algier playing because I can't count on Damian Williams, and I can't afford to run Patterson into the ground. So what's a realistic total for Cordarrelle Patterson? Well, if you look at what his numbers were last year for the Atlanta Falcons, where it was obviously a double-digit touchdown season, but it was a total of 153 rushing attempts for 618 yards. Do I think that that number is going to go up? Yes. But do I think that that number is going to increase by 100 carries? Probably not. Let's remember, he did miss a game, and there was a couple of games that he didn't start last year because of being beat up. You add 100 carries onto 150 and get him in the 250 range, that's not where ideally that he lives. Now, we'll talk more about this in just a second, but first, let me talk about my friends over at betonline.net. Look, betonline.net is your number one source for all of your sports wagering information. Full bore NFL season right now. College football's right in the middle of everything. Obviously, we got baseball and division races, boxing, golf, MMA. Whatever your interests are, you can go to betonline.net and find all of the best information from e-betting, scores, wagering information, tips, tricks. Everything is available at betonline.net. Look, you want to bet smarter. You want to, obviously with football season, a lot of folks get mixed up and involved in wagering and things like that. Bet smarter by heading to betonline.net. Best thing is you just take your mobile device, pop in betonline.net, check out all the information and all the tips that they have there for you. BetOnline.net is your source for all of your sports wagering information. So what is realistic? I think around 200 carries. And I know when you say that, oh my gosh, he's already got 10% of that. Yeah, but you can't just trust a 31-year-old. I just gave you the only 3 times when a running back is carried at 300 yards. And Martin, Jones, and Tiki Barber were 3 of the most established running backs in the league. Those guys had run it their whole career. Patterson hasn't. And unless you want to make him into bone dust by the end of the season, because the other part of this too is watch how Patterson runs. He runs like he's Earl Campbell. And that's good until you get, taken out on a play. So if you told me that he was around maybe 200, maybe 220, somewhere in that range, that's probably realistic. And if he's at 4 yards or better a carry, look, if he's at 5 yards carry, obviously be 1,000-yard running back. If he's at 4 yards carry, he's still an 8 to 900 yard running back. If you told me Patterson was 800 or 900 yards and he got me 7 or 8 rushing touchdowns and 4 or 5 more receiving touchdowns, I'd take that. And sometimes maybe the running game, and we'll probably see this as the season moves along, sometimes the running game is you catch a short pass and you pick up 4 yards on a short pass. Doesn't look like a big gain, but you talk about, okay, now it's 2nd and 6 instead of, 2nd and 10. So they may use the short passing game at some point. Because let's face it, Mariota showed you pushing the ball downfield ain't exactly his specialty, right? Short passes, easy targets, things like that. So, again, this is why Algier has to suit up. I can take my young rookie that's a bell cow running back in college, and I can run him 150 times, right? I can load him up, assuming that, he plays well and all that, unless he just falls on his face. And I don't think Tyler Algier is going to fall on his face. But this is why I can't trust Damian Williams. I can't afford to grind Patterson into dust. And he's not built and designed to run it 300 times. Forget 374 times, which he's on pace for. Even running it 300 times isn't probably a realistic number. And it's rarely been done at his age in the NFL. You know where you got to go back to find guys that ran it that many times at an advanced age? John Riggins in 1985, Walter Payton in 84, Tony Dorsett in 85. Running backs aren't built like that. There aren't those kinds of running backs anymore in the NFL. So managing the workload of Patterson, while I understand power running, more running, that's what our feature is, I get all of that. But at the same time, you got to be realistic about how many carries Patterson's going to get. And I'm going to be curious over these next few weeks to see what that number is. Maybe they try to grind him up early in the season while he's healthy and there's not that beat up factor. But as the season moves on, and we saw this last year, managing workload, right? Even more reason why Tyler Algier needs to play and be on the active squad week in, week out. I can't trust Damian Williams, and I can't grind Patterson into salt. All right, when we come back, more cap space, huh? Interesting. We'll talk about that next. Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked On Sports Atlanta. Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked On Sports Atlanta. Head to youtube.com. Locked On Sports Atlanta is what you put in your search browser. When you get to our page, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment. Free and available to download all of your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. Also now on Amazon Fire and Roku. Check us out there. Of course, follow me at JMCH316 on Twitter. So yesterday, one news that the Falcons made on their off day, is that the Falcons converted $8.5 million of Deion Jones' salary into a bonus with 3 voidable years added. That's always the get out of a contract for $6.8 million. Jones will get his salary payout sooner as part of the deal. So, of course, this was spun as, well, the Falcons opened up some cap space and all that. Okay, who's all these guys that they're bringing in? I must have missed because I follow all the beat writers and I know all the beat writers, and I do follow all the news and everything. I must have missed all of the signings and all the free agents and all the people, because they did sign. They did bring Ferkser up and sign him to the regular squad, and then they added a guy to their practice squad. So maybe I missed all of these high caliber free agents that they brought in, because I don't remember seeing any of those guys up in Flowery Branch or hearing about reports out of all of it. So what exactly is freeing up cap space mean? Yeah, great. We freed up $6 or $7 million. That really is a help in the week 2 of the NFL season. This is very simple. Okay. Let me explain it to you as easy as I can, because there are still some of you out there that just don't want to believe this. Okay. This means that a team that takes on Deion Jones' contract has somewhere around a couple of $1 million of salary that they have to take on for this year, because a lot of his money is getting converted into bonus, which means the Falcons will pay that out. This is the Falcons' way of saying, hey, teams in the NFL, hey, we're picking up money for Deion Jones' contract. You're not going to be on the hook for all of it, right? Because this is the game you have to play in today's NFL. We saw this with Baker Mayfield, right? Browns didn't want to pick up all of his money and all that. So you work out a deal, you rig a deal, right? You cook the books and all this kind of stuff, and you figure out a way to make a trade where one team isn't stuck with all the salary, right? That's what this is. As I keep saying here, very simply, Deion Jones playing for the Falcons is not going to happen. It's not going to just magically all of a sudden in week 5, that all of a sudden he's going to be back on the field, running around, and here's good old 45 back in the mix. They are setting up since March. They have set up every single domino to fall to tell you that they're moving on from Deion Jones, without coming out and saying, we're moving on from Deion Jones. They're playing everything politically correct. Oh, he's coming back, and he's going to have to fight, and he's going to have to scratch, and he's going to have to claw, and he's going to have to do this. And then when your head coach, all you needed to know was when your head coach came out and said, he's going to have a tough time getting on the field. We got all these other guys. 3 years ago, that would have been an improbability to say that Deion's coming out there. So, again, however you teams, Falcons, Bubba and Buford wants to spin all this, this is not about cap space. This is not about finding a way to free up money for, more guys to come in. They have money. I wish they would bring in interior defensive line help. I wish they would bring that in. Because, look, with all due respect, having more guys on your defensive front, especially when you had to kind of play your kind of rotational backup guys at the end of that game, you need all those guys that you can get. Now, we'll talk more about this in just a second, but first, let me talk about my friends over at Coffee AM. Listen, you know that these folks are my favorites. They are the best small batch coffee roaster in America. They are right here in the state of Georgia, right up in the Canton area. Coffee AM has got the best selection of coffees that you want to try out. So head to coffeeam.com/lockedon. Coffeeam.com/lockedon. When you get there, check out the menu and the products that they have. You need K-Cups, they got that. You want organic coffees, they got that. You want flavored coffee, they got that. You need tea, they got that. You need a gift set, they got all of that. So when you get to coffeeam.com/lockedon, check their menu out, put that first order together. And when you get that first order all put together and you get to the checkout, use the promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, Locked On. Use that promo code at checkout, and you'll get 15% off your first order at Coffee AM. So head there today, coffeeam.com/lockedon. Put together that first order. I promise you're going to be glad that you get these guys coffee. I'm going through bags fast as I can. I drink multiple cups of it every single morning. 15% off by simply using the coupon code Locked On at checkout. Coffeeam.com, the best small batch coffee roaster in America. So I wish we'd bring in Ndamukong Suh or, Sheldon Richardson or somebody like that. I wish we would bring in one of those guys. I'd be more than happy to free up cap space to bring one of those guys in. But this has nothing to do with all of that. And look, Michael Walker is the guy with the green sticker on his helmet now, right? He's the guy that the coaches are talking to. He's got the earpiece in, right? He's kind of the captain of their defense now. It's a new era. Rashaan Evans, I said, he's going to lead this team in tackles this year. I think they're very happy. And then obviously Troy Anderson and guys like that, I think they're very happy with what they've got and the style of player that they have. And it's, look, Deion Jones still has ability in this league and can go to the right situation and find himself starting and playing regularly. But this isn't it. And I still am amazed that people just don't want to seem to understand that this coaching staff doesn't feel like he's a fit for their defense. If they thought with this roster that he was a fit for their defense, he'd be on the field playing. Okay? And it wouldn't be the Rodney, my arm. I think my arm's broken. Magically that happened, whatever, after the final preseason game where he gave a big look-see to all the teams around the league. So we'll see what ends up happening, but they've done everything possible with his surgery, with training camp, with IR designations, with PUP lists, with salary restructures, because that's the big thing that's held them up, right? This is the last resort, is when you get into, okay, we got to change the money around and this, that, and the other. Oh, but look, we freed up cap space and all that kind of stuff. No, Falcons are just paying a bunch of money to Deion Jones to make it easier for teams to want to bring him on. And at this point, if you're going to move on, just move on. See, I told you, they don't want to cut Deion Jones. They don't want to just cut him and get nothing for him. Even if you get a nothing draft pick, that's better than letting him just walk on the streets and go play somewhere else and help another team out. So great. We got cap space now. Cool. Bring guys in. I mean, if you really did free up cap space, which they did, I mean, financially, yes, they freed up cap space. But much like we talked about yesterday, that an unused weapon is a useless weapon, unused cap space is useless cap space. You can roll some cap space over to the next year. But remember, we're all being sold on, we got $100-something million next year. So $3 or $4 or $5 million rolled over to next year in $100-something million doesn't mean a whole lot. That's bupkis. So this is all about making it easy to head on from Deion Jones. And I think by the time we get back into Atlanta and they're coming home to play the Cleveland Browns, because they're going to have a decision to make, that's when I think they'll pull the trigger. And now they've made this thing easier. Who knows? This may happen sooner rather than later now that they made it easy for teams to take on his salary, but he's not going to play again for the Atlanta Falcons. All right, when we come back, Dansby will be the ultimate test. I'll explain next. Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked On Sports Atlanta. Back on Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. YouTube.com is where you head. Put Locked On Sports Atlanta in the search browser. Hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment there. Free and available to download on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. Now on Amazon Fire and Roku. Check us out there as well. And, of course, give me a follow on my personal Twitter page at JMSH316. Last night, Braves win, right? Oh, Kenley Jansen closed out the game. Even though it wasn't a save situation, they got him up and closed out the game. Interesting, okay? So nothing changed there. Kyle Wright was really good. Got another good start out of it. Good to see him back and bounce back. Major League leading 18th win. He's going to win 20 games this year. But Dansby last night homered and drove in 3 runs in the game. So Dansby hit his 20th homer last night, now up to 87 RBI. So Dansby is projecting, if you like those sorts of things, right? 23 homers, 99 RBI, and he should get about 20 steals because he's got 17 already, right? It's been an outstanding season in a walk year for Dansby Swanson. Listen to some of these numbers about Dansby and when we talk about the kind of season that he had, to try to put it in some perspective. If we kind of joke about him being one of the straws that stirs the drink, in wins for the Braves this year, he's hitting .334. When the Braves lose, he's hitting .198. With runners in scoring position this year, which has been a big bugaboo for the Atlanta Braves, right? He's hitting .333 with a .577 slugging percentage, and driven in 69 runs with runners in scoring position. How about with 2 outs? With 2 outs, he's hit .310 with a .538 slugging. How about 2 outs, and runners in scoring position. No problem. 345 with a 1.052 OPS, 5 homers, and 33 RBI with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. So you talk about the straw that stirs the drink. Now, this is where this becomes the ultimate test, right? Hometown kid, Marietta High School, Vanderbilt, was drafted by the Diamondbacks, Shelby Miller trade, comes back home, and now he's the local hero. Well, he's going to give us a hometown discount, right? Is he? Dansby, listen to me. 25 homer, 100 RBI, 20 steal, Gold Glove shortstop. What do you think that's worth on the open marketplace? This will be the ultimate test for Alex Anthopoulos. And here's why I say that. If he gets Dansby Swanson, I don't care how many years, 1 year, 5 years, 50 years. If he gets Dansby to sign back with the Braves and play for less than $20 million a year, I will come on this podcast in front of that camera and I will tell you that Alex Anthopoulos is the greatest GM in the history of baseball. Not just the best GM in Atlanta sports. He is the best GM in the history of baseball. Because there's nothing about a 25 homer, 100 RBI, 20 steal, Gold Glove shortstop that's now in the prime of his career. 28 years old, he's still got multiple prime years in Major League Baseball. There's nothing about that that doesn't scream $20 million per season. Again, Trey Turner's getting 21 this year. People think he's going to get way more than that. Bogarts, who's probably not as good as Dansby, $20 million a year. Tatis, $24 million a year. How's that working out? Right? Look, Brandon Crawford, $16 million a year. He should blow past all of that. Look at Corey Seager, who got $32.5 million. Lindor, $34.1 million. Correa got $35.1 million. And you know how many steals Correa has this year? Zip. And I know those are all outstanding players, but timing is everything in life. And Dansby could not have picked a better year to have this kind of season. Will he take a hometown discount? Maybe he will. Maybe he will. Maybe he will decide that being an Atlanta Brave is better than being a whatever Cleveland Indian or whatever franchise, a Seattle Mariner or whatever team, a Texas Ranger, whatever, Baltimore Oriole. Maybe being an Atlanta Brave and being home is better than that. But if Alex Anthopoulos can find a way to sign Dansby Swanson for less than $20 million per year, my hat's off. He's the best GM in baseball by far. Because all of these contracts, the Matt Olson deal, the Ronnie deal, the Ozzie deal, the Michael Harris deal. You don't think Michael Harris is already a $20 million player? A potential 20 homer guy, 20 steal guy, Gold Glove center fielder. What do you think that's worth on the open marketplace? You don't think that's worth a $20 million? A top of the order, power, speed, Gold Glove defensive center fielder. Not DH or left fielder, center fielder. That's a $20 million player that's going to play for $9 million a year for the Braves. This is the ultimate test because when Dansby, wherever he signs, here, there, or everywhere, then you got Max Fried that's coming right behind him. And if he can pull off a way to get Dansby Swanson to take that hometown discount, Dansby got $10 million in arbitration this year, right? Got $10 million, got a nice little boost. I think it was like $6.5 million from last year, got up to $10 million. And think about how good his season has been this year. Now he heads on the open marketplace. Tell me all of the 25 homer, 100 RBI, 20 steal, Gold Glove shortstops that are running around baseball right now. You probably can't go past one hand if you're lucky of how many of those guys are. I'm not even sure you could fill one hand out of all of it. So this is where Alex Anthopoulos will be fascinating to watch, because whether the Braves get another World Series championship, whether they get knocked out early, Dansby and his contract is going to be like front and center the day after whatever happens. They lose in the first round of the playoffs, they win the World Series and have a parade. That very next day, it's all about Dansby and what happens at that point. Oh, did I mention, by the way, too, that Dansby has the same edging as Freddie Freeman does? Did I mention all of that? Not saying that matters. Not saying that there's bad blood. Not saying that there's ill will or anything like that. We won't go Doug Gottlieb on you here on this episode, but, it's something to consider, all those little factors. And with all due respect to the Braves and being hometown, look, if I'm Dansby, I'm cashing in, because this is my probably only really big chance to cash in what I've done. I'm coming into the prime years of my career. I'm at the top of my game. I'm having my best season ever. I may never have another season as good as this, for being honest. I may never be another 2,500, 20 Gold Glove. He's going to win the Gold Glove. If he doesn't win the Gold Glove, then they should take the award and melt it. They should take that Rawlings Gold Glove, take it and melt it and make coins out of it to put in a pinball machine, because it ain't going to be worth nothing at that point. He's been outstanding defensively. Another terrific play. He's an outstanding defensive player. Should have won the Gold Glove 2 years ago in the pandemic era, where he had every sabermetric, metrosexual, analytical stat you could want out of a shortstop and got robbed out of all of it. But he could not have picked a better time. And now it becomes the game of, what does Dansby want more? Does he want to be paid? Look, he's not going to get fish heads and rice, okay? It's not like he's going to make $8 or $9 million a year if he signs with the Braves. He'll get paid a fair amount. My guess would be the Braves will offer him something around 15, 16 million a year for the next 5 years. I wouldn't be surprised if it's $75, $80 million for 5 years of Dansby. Or he can go on the marketplace and maybe get 125, 130, 140 million dollars for that same 5 or 6 years or whatever. He's looking at big time money. And how Alex Anthopoulos and Dansby comes together this offseason. Because and say what you will, okay? But with the way Vaughn Grissom has played, if it's not Dansby at short, it's going to be Vaughn Grissom at shortstop. They're going to plug him there. For everybody that wants to go beer league softball and stick him out in left field where he's never played, he's an infielder by trade. He'll go play shortstop. He's played on the left side of the infield before. He'll go play shortstop. If it's not Dansby, you'll see Vaughn Grissom and Ozzie Albies be your new Keystone combo out there. But this will be a fascinating look in the offseason as to what they can do with him. All right, we thank you so much for making Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery your first listen every day. Make ATL Day Ones your second listen every day. Jarvis Davis, Denitra Batiste, they are free and available on our YouTube page, Locked On Sports Atlanta. Download us for free on your favorite podcast platforms. Hit us up on Roku or Amazon Fire, and follow me at JMCH316. Back with you tomorrow, Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked On Sports Atlanta.